Hey, what's up guys? It's Justine with Debt Free Millennials, the channel to help you crush your debt and live payment free. Now we're just gonna go ahead and jump right into this video. If you want to live payment free, then it's really crucial that you set up some savings goals, and we're gonna talk about how to set those up, get specific so that you can stick with it. Now, a lot of times when I am working with my one-on-one budget coaching students, they'll have savings set aside, but they can't really articulate what that money is for. They know they want to have savings, but they haven't really identified the specific savings goal. And so oftentimes that money can just be all over the place. And if you are vague with that money, then it's just not going to work the best for you. So in order to have a clear definition of your savings goals, you really need to know four things. You need to know what you're saving for, how much you need to save, when you would like to have the money by, and figure out how much money you need to set aside per month. If you know those four things, then it's going to be so much easier to set up your savings goal and stick to it. Now, this method to savings works no matter if you are saving for a 2 to 3 month emergency fund, if you are saving for a down payment, a new car, or you're budgeting for a baby. So let's go ahead and walk through some of those examples, and I'll show you how I'll set this up. All right, so the first example is building a 2 to 3 month emergency fund. So I found actually on valuepenguin.com that the median savings account for millennials is $3,200. I don't know how many millennials actually could use $3,200 on a 2 to 3 month emergency fund. Perhaps it could work, but we need to do a lot better than that. So a lot of people inside of the Facebook group say 2 to 3 months of living expenses saved up in an emergency fund is crucial to have even while you're still in debt. So let's use this as an example. So the what would be the 2 to 3 month starter emergency fund. Now let's cover the how much. Your how much will be dependent on your own budget, but I'm going to give you an example here. So your emergency fund should include your monthly core expenses, which includes your rent or mortgage payment, your utilities, your cell phone and internet, and then any car related expenses, including your car insurance and gas. If you have all of those things covered, then this is what it could look like. So for example, if you had a mortgage that was $1,100, a cell phone for $80 a month, internet at $60, water, electric, gas, let's combine it and say it's $150 per month, food at $500 per month, and then any car related expenses at $300 per month. That all totals out to $2,190. Now, if you want to save for 2 months of living expenses, then you should be saving $4,380. If you want to save for 3 months emergency fund, then that total would be $6,570. So see how very specific we are with getting to that amount. We're not just saying, oh, I think $10,000 sounds good. We're getting very specific because we've checked this back with our monthly budget and we've determined how much money we need. So let's say that you want to work towards this goal within the next year. So 12 months, that will be our win. We want this money in the next year. So what you do in order to calculate the monthly amount is either take the 2 month total or the 3 month total and divide it by 12 months. So if you are aiming for a 2 month starter emergency fund, then you are going to have to set aside $365 per month to hit your goal. Now, if you want to save for a 3 month emergency fund, you'll need to set aside $547.50 in order to hit your goal within 12 months. Now let's take a look at an example of saving for a car, and I'm actually going to give you the real numbers here for Kyle and I because we've been saving for a second vehicle. So what are we saving for? Not just a second car. We are saving for a Jeep Grand Cherokee, the Overland package, and ideally it's going to be anywhere between 2 and 5 years old. That's very specific versus saying I just want a new car. I mean, you could get a $1,000 car off of Facebook Marketplace that's 20 years old that has over 100,000 miles on it, Or you could get a brand new car and get a brand new truck for 80 grand. So you really have to be specific on what those needs are. Next, we need to determine how much. Now, in order to figure out this number, I actually went on to kellybluebook.com to figure out what a slightly used Jeep Grand Cherokee is valued at, and then I priced it against a private owner versus going through a dealership. So for a 2019 Jeep Grand Cherokee, I was looking at around $40,000 or $27,000 for a 2016. Now, I went ahead and wanted to save on the high end of this amount so that I had the most options. So $40,000 was my starting point. Now, I actually started this goal 3 years ago. So I made it a goal to have $40,000 in 3 years. That meant I had to save $1,111. For 36 months, I was putting aside that amount of money into a separate savings account. Now, if you're thinking there's no way that I could save that amount of money because that's just too much for my budget, then shop for a cheaper car. Now, keep in mind, we were able to do this in 3 years with that amount of money per month because we live debt-free and we live payment-free. So more of our discretionary income can be utilized towards savings. Now let's take a look at how you could potentially budget for a baby. This one's kind of weird because there's really not a definitive amount, but here's how I approached it. First, we want to determine the what. Okay, so instead of just saving for a new baby, which you guys know if you have children, that could be anything under the sun, I got specific and said I wanted to save for baby supplies. And that included 3 big things: a stroller, a car seat, and a crib. So those 3 things I wanted to set aside money for. So how much is that for a stroller, a car seat, and a crib? What I ended up doing is I created a Google spreadsheet of different car seats and strollers and tried to just kind of get an idea of what I liked and didn't like, and then found the price points for each brand and then figured out what I was comfortable spending. Now, if you need help with that, I highly recommend Marissa Lida's Budgeting for Baby course. She walks through not only how to save for these expenses, but also walks you through how to deal with health insurance and figuring out what's covered in your prenatal care and all of that good stuff. I just found it very beneficial for me, especially with the insurance stuff and then figuring out what to focus on. So I went kind of top of the line, and if you're like, this is a lot, I will say I kind of had expensive taste with this, but this was the amount I was willing to spend. So when do I want this money by? At the start of 3rd trimester, so in 7 months. By the time I found out I was pregnant to the 3rd trimester, that's 7 months, I needed to get $1,500. That meant I had to set aside $214 per month for these baby supplies. Okay, so those are some quick examples of how you can set up specific savings goals and then stick to it. What's really cool is once you figure out your monthly amount, you can set up automatic contributions from your checking account into a separate savings account and then earmark that money for later use. In fact, I was able to open a separate savings account specifically for my emergency fund and my Jeep. So I have a savings account for the Jeep, and I relabeled the account from XYZ Bananas to Jeep Grand Cherokee. And now I know if I was ever tempted to take that money out, then I would know I'm taking that money away from my goal of getting the second car. Now, if you need more control over your spending to help you stick with these savings goals, don't forget to check out my How to Control Your Spending workbook. It has over 50 pages of content and activities to help you start feeling good with your finances again and help you stick with those savings goals. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll catch you in the next one.